Hi, this is Michael Martin. This is my case study regarding adult education. I'd like to address three different topics in this case study. The first one being the time domain, second one being myths regarding online education, and the third one is the value of online education. Here's the agenda for my presentation. We'll start out by working through a definition of the time domain. Then we'll do some background on online learning in general and review some of the issues and research regarding online education. I'll then focus on the 10 key myths regarding learning through the internet and offer you my conclusions. The references are provided at the end. So now let's take a look at some of the definitions here. Specific to the time domain, this is an issue that's near and dear my heart because having become a student at UOIT, this is my first experience with synchronous online learning. My previous three university experiences were all in the asynchronous domain. So I grew quite comfortable with the asynchronous model, and I'm having to adapt or learn how to work in a synchronous model. I won't read the definitions for you. I'm sure you can do that yourself. But, and you know we're in synchronous model. We all have what I call it's like a date classroom here. We set a date and a time and we all come together and or date learning, if you will. And I find that pretty much equivalent to a brick and mortar type classroom setting. I question what the real difference is. For me, the only difference is I don't have to drive out to Oshawa from Toronto, and that's valuable to me, of course. Likewise, I can join in from remote locations, which is also very valuable. But otherwise, it's just the same as the classic classroom type and environment, and I'm not sure I'm comfortable with it. I don't see a lot of great value. Whereas on the async or asynchronous learning model, it allows me to do what I want. Allows me to do it where I want and how I want. It's very important in that regard. And as someone who gets up very early in the morning, in the past, for past since 2003, I've been doing my schooling from about 5 in the morning through till about 8 and put in a lot of hours, continued in the evenings as well when time permitted, but primarily did my schooling during the early hours of the morning. And I'm sure most of you would not want to do that or are uncomfortable doing that, but for me that works. So I really like that. A question to you is what sort of learning do you prefer? And at the end of this video, we'll have an open discussion. And so the question is synchronous versus asynchronous. What's your position on this issue? I felt it might be useful to just have a look at the history or the background of online learning. And one thing that struck me is that it's not very old. It's only been around since 1960. And for some of us, myself specifically, I was alive then. That's not so long ago. I was just a child, of course. But when you consider all the implications of what's happened through the timeline, and I've highlighted a few key ones. There were many, many more events, probably four times this many, but I harvested out a few key events in the history of online learning. Obviously, the founding of the internet is a key one in 1969, so that played a huge role. We couldn't have it without the internet. Um, the Usenet was important. It was the first sort of educational type online linkage. Um, but Lotus Development Corporation, which was later consumed by IBM, my employer, it started when it acquired the Human Interest Group and started to build the online domain. And actually, many online schools like Athabasca, where I did my MBA, still use the Lotus platform. Open University was another major milestone, in out of Colorado, and it really set the stage for a lot of online learning. Um, Along came WebCT, and then Blackboard, Moodle, and then Blackboard attempted to strike a patent, and that basically froze up things for a while until the patent was invalidated and things started to change. But I think it really slowed or stopped development of learning management systems. Um, Now, with that being said, the world did not stop just because R&D stopped in LMS systems. Web 2.0 arrived with its rich media and hyperlinks and multiple windows operating in the same time. And then we had the evolution of mobility with handheld devices and um, iPads and all that stuff. What's coming next is the Internet of Things, and that's the Web 3.0, and I think that's going to have a profound effect. I just hope that the developers of the LMS systems will be able to keep up. So far, I'm disappointed. I think they're behind the times. Next, I'd like to look at synchronous learning in depth, and 4 or 5 key points here with the convenience of it, integration with other life activities that an adult student has to undertake, the pedagogy, the value from learning point of view, the value of the education in society, a big issue, I think, and a question about UOIT. Why don't we have residential uh, aspects to this program? With all my other programs at Stanford and Athabasca and University of Alberta, um, residential was mandatory. So, if we look at the convenience of it, is it as convenient as we'd like it to be? Well, it has a lot of benefits, no argument. But really, if you think about it, all the students that are attending this program, in this class even, bulk of us are all from Ontario. So how is it leveraging online learning? It's not really a countrywide thing or a continent-wide thing. It's not even a worldwide thing at all. So it's really just a province-wide thing. And I think it's underperforming in its mission. It can do so much more if they fix it up a bit. So it's convenient for us local people, but is it really what it could be? Integration, this is one of the issues I have, is that um, I have to run my life around schooling rather than have schooling run around my life, and that's a key point there. The quality of the learning, the pedagogy is an interesting one. I still feel that we're learning the same way we would in a brick and mortar classroom. So, um, we're sort of stuck in the past, and sure, we're using some new media stuff, but uh, is how's the peer-to-peer interaction? Is it as rich as it would be in another environment, in another setting? I'm not too sure about that, and I think learning today comes from peer-to-peer uh, and is facilitated by the educator. So it's not sage on the stage, as you guys like to say. Um, the value in society, is this degree worth um, the same as an online or another degree that was done in a brick and mortar? If we had attended classrooms at another school, will people look at this degree any differently? And I guess the answer to that is it depends. It's a big issue, one we can discuss after the video. And the residential issue I've already addressed, so I find it very odd, and I think there should be a residential component to this program. Let's look at some of the research now. I haven't done extensive research, just found some really interesting ones that I harvested and brought forward to you for consideration. It's a short presentation. So, what are these 4 statements about? The first one's talking about opportunity costs and that most online students are able to keep their jobs. So the real dollar value is not really, the value of earning the degree and getting an ROI on the degree. It's the value of keeping your job and being able to continue to work. It's the money you're earning while you're going to school, as opposed to quitting your job and going full time, where you'd lose all the income that you would be that we're all realizing today. Some of you may be doing this full time. I'm not sure, but that's really the value of online learning in general, as well as for me in this course. And this is a personal review, anyways. Um, an article from the New York Times written by Brooks was very interesting. It talked about online learning going through the same thing that newspapers and magazine business has been going through, which is almost, a phoenix rising from the ashes as it evolves and changes. And there's a lot of change happening in the online world. The whole Stanford, Harvard, MIT free course thing is a great example. And I just read today that Harvard put $60 million into their free courses. So they're doing that for a reason. And I see them using these free courses as lost leaders to draw in students to go and pay for their education by attending their brick and mortar school. So it's a teaser campaign. Um, Pew is a research center, and they've done some extensive studies. So I pulled some statistics, and 29% of the public feels that online courses offer the same value as brick and mortar classrooms. And that's interesting because that means over 70% do not feel that. So there's a credibility issue. However, when they polled university and college presidents, over half of them thought it delivered the value. So maybe there's a disconnect between the general public and the academics. The second Pew piece that I liked was that 29% of the general public uh, thinks there's good value in online, but those people who have taken online courses, only 39% feel have a positive opinion of online. So that's only a 10% delta between those who have, an opinion without taking courses and those who have. It's not a big enough swing. It means that the value is not being realized, that a lot of people are taking these courses and not feeling that it delivered them an exceptional learning experience. And I would like to see that 39% jump up to 60, 70, 80%. That's where it should be to tell me that this thing's working. Let's talk about some of the myths around online learning. Another pet peeve of mine. I'm not going to review all 10 of them, it's just too much and the time doesn't permit, but let me highlight a few. The first myth, classroom learning is superior to online learning. Um, I'm not sure I agree with that. A friend of mine did his MBA at Rotman while I did mine at Athabasca, and we compared notes, and we both concluded that the online learning was a richer engagement, and he had never had his work team together at any one time. The whole team could never synchronize. Where in my time, my 2 years doing my MBA, I synchronized every time, so we could make it work. We had much more flexibility. So I would argue the other way. Um, let's jump number three. It works for some subjects and not for others. Well, that's certainly been true, and the social sciences have, been leveraging online learning where the physical sciences, hard sciences have not. But that's changing too with simulations and the way we work in industry and engineering, for instance, is online today. So the schools need to catch up in that regard. Maybe jump to number seven. Online learning is quick and easy. This is one of the problem areas. There's been a lot of degree mills and a lot of press and negative publicity around getting your degree online. That it's scams and cheating. And we're working for our degree, so we're not in that situation. Um, and we're going to all earn them. So I don't have any concern there. But the general public reads the newspapers and watches TV, and they get a negative opinion. And the last one is interesting. Online is going to make traditional classrooms obsolete. Totally disagree with that. I think that we'll see both continue, and a blended model will be popular as well. In conclusion, I'll make just a few quick points. I think that online learning is still in its infancy, needs a lot of maturing yet. Um, Moving a classic classroom setting or course to an online scenario is not online learning. So We have to reshape the courseware to map to the tools and the platform. I think that there needs to be a balance between synchronous and asynchronous. I think that there's a lot of catching up that needs to be done, and that there's a lot of change in the new appliances like iPads and such. Incredible LTE type wireless connections of high speed, and Internet of Things will be one that I think is going to change our world. So the online guys better catch up. The value of the degree, it's not universally accepted. So I wonder if these free online courses from the U.S. schools and now University of Toronto and UBC who are joining them will get us some traction and to get some credibility, hopefully. And the myths persist. I think we need to get out there and get some education going, but education all around. It's not just the general public or the employers. It's the educators themselves and the learners. We all need to change and understand what the value proposition is. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time and look forward to some discussion now.